It's the call of the Cardinals. The call.
There's only one team, and they're the Seahawks. One.
Still taking my time to perfect the beat, and I still got love for the streets. It's the DRE for the gangsters all across the world. Still.
Oh, look at that timing. Look at that timing. He slides in right as the music finishes. Way. Afternoon, boys. Afternoon. Welcome to SportsMAGUK UK. It's the NFC West Show on Sunday. It's Football Sunday. How you doing, JT? Good to see you, man.
Great. Yep. Another
and Bo sliding in there just
very
at the
winnable
end
game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
How you doing, guys?
What's up, Bo?
Doing good. You must be loving sitting top of the tree, 3-0.
I mean, yeah, right? Like you're happy to be there. I'm a little worried about things that I've seen with our team, though. You know?
Are you 3-0 despite everything? Is that how you're feeling it? Where you are, somehow you've got to 3-0 with some worrying signs.
Yeah, there's some very real questions as far as, you know, if this team's going to be able to stop the run, if they're going to be able to maintain protection for Geno. You know, really, it's up front on both sides of the ball. So yeah, they're 3-0. But I mean, once you start seeing some.
We lose him a bit there, JT?
Yeah, you know what? I think he's just shell-shocked that his team's 3-0, and he's speechless.
It's just speechless. Right?
Geno Smith-led team is 3-0.
I'm dealing with some signal issues this morning. Like I keep cutting in and out, so apologize for that.
That's all right.
But yeah, no, I mean, ultimately, it's both the trenches are the biggest question for this team. And, you know, as we start to see some of the better teams, that's where we're really going to be watching close because obviously skill positions, the team is loaded, right? Receivers, awesome. Secondary is great. But the guys up front that make everything go, that's the question. Yeah,
you got a big test coming into town as well with the Detroit Lions on Monday night, right? That's an O-line that's terrifying.
No doubt. And we got to go there. So, you know, traveling on the road. That being said, you know, the Seahawks are, you know, they've won, I think, their last 5 matchups with the Lions. They find a way to sneak out with wins. And then they're also the best team in the league on Monday night. They have the best winning percentage all time. So, I mean, there's a couple of things that lean their way. That being said, they have 3 defensive linemen going to be out and away.
Yeah, the way Detroit runs the ball, they're just so dynamic. You know, unfortunately, we just witnessed it here in Arizona. Montgomery and Gibbs combined to carry the ball 39 times for 188 yards at 4.8 yards a clip. I mean, they were just running all over the place, and that's where we lost the game, was in the trenches, like Bo was saying, and on both sides of the ball, offensive and defensive side of the ball. You could just see Detroit's just better. They're just a better team. It's just personnel. They just have better players than we do right now at this stage. And I like what they said on the broadcast. They said, you know, this feels like Arizona's in year 2 when, like, Detroit was in year 2 of the rebuild. It feels like Arizona's in that year 2 of a rebuild. And it's like, we're absolutely right. I mean, we feel exactly the way we should have felt. Like, we feel like we're better than last year, but we are who we are, right? But we're getting there. And so, yeah, you get to experience that Lions offensive line that's just grueling. It just doesn't stop. They pound the ball. Jared Goff doesn't make many mistakes. He's very nice with the football. And, you know, Dan Campbell, he, you know, no risk it, no biscuit. He's going for he's looking for a 4th down to go for it. So, you definitely have
sometimes it seems like Dan Campbell wants 3rd down plays to fail almost because he can go for a 4th down. He's just got that kind of mentality. It's, as you say, it's no risk, no pain. It's a 4th down all the time, right?
I think he's got that old Cliff Kingsbury. Even Kyle Shanahan does it every now and then, or it seems like in the playoffs, where you don't have 3 downs to get 10 yards, you have 4. and they play like it. And so when you call a play on third down, that's a play that you would normally call like on second down, it just changes the dynamic of the game. And you saw that when Cliff was in town and he was calling our offense, you get to see how it changes the game. Your play calling. When now I've got 4 downs. I'm using all 4 of my downs to get those 10 yards. It really changes what the defense thinks you might do.
And it just opens the mindset of the players on the offense. But as you say, the defense have got to be kind of slightly. They're like, hey, we've got to play all 4 downs here. They can't be
Absolutely.
like 3 downs and out type thing. Because
And we did a great job of that in the second half last week. We shut them out. Held Goff under 100 yards. Limited their running game a little bit. They only converted 1 third down, I think, in the second half. And again, no points. So really, really happy with again. Personnel wise, we just don't have the pieces yet. But we will. But I really like where we are schematically and how we're playing as a team.
Hey, I'll be right back, guys. I'm going to restart my machine, see if I can get my signal to clean up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, all good. We'll talk about you while you go. Just missed it.
I am. If I was a Seahawk fan, I would be excited about the things I'm seeing from Geno Smith. Geno's making some very good decisions. I think he's rated right now on Next Gen Stats, rated number 1 with a long ball, 20+ yards throws. So he's making great decisions. I watched a play yesterday break down where linebacker I think was blitzing off the right side, and he just made such a dynamic key play with the guy right in his face. So he's made, and that's what you want, right? You want a quarterback who makes good decisions, who when things aren't all perfect, the ball goes to where it's supposed to go.
Goes to where it's supposed to. It doesn't try and overdo it. Yeah, he's not overthinking it. He's not trying to over push for things, taking what's there and just.
That's something that Kyler Murray can learn how to do. I've seen the last couple of games, the ball doesn't necessarily go to where it needs to go. He threw it in a double coverage in the third quarter to Marvin Harrison on a go route when he had Michael Wilson on a drag underneath. That's where the ball should have went, uncovered. Yeah. Marvin Harrison had 12 guys on him. But Kyler's trying to force it,
Do you think that's a flip back to the, week 1 when that whole story of Harrison didn't get the ball and Kyler said it's not his job, and then obviously week 2 he lit up the scene and everyone was like, wow, he's arrived. Is there kind of they're still trying to on that sort of seesaw of right? Do you force it to him? Is he?
That could be some of it, but if you think about it, if you watch the way the game unfolded on Sunday, unfortunately, Detroit really just put it on us. They came out with I think a 9-play drive, scored right away. It was just beautiful. And then we responded, right? We had a 9-play drive, 6 runs, 3 passes, 9 total plays where we went down and scored the ball. But then it was very evident that we could not do anything. We converted 1 third down that day, and that was on our first drive on a Kyler Murray scramble.
Oof.
He converted 5 third downs of 6 in the first half. So
you could get out the field. You couldn't stop them.
We couldn't budge them, and they could do whatever they wanted. And I think in the third and fourth quarter, Kyler just starts sometimes he starts pressing, and that's what I'm saying with the guy and again, Geno hasn't been put in those situations yet, but it's that balance of pressing and doing too much, right?
And Geno, as you say, he's been around the league enough to learn and seen it from the sidelines. Yeah, I know he's backed up, number of places and whatever else, but he's been around to learn that. And that's Kyler, as you say, is hopefully picking that up, hopefully starting to see that and learn a few more of those traits of when to force it, when to push it, when to make the easy decision, when to take what's there and that drag route, which is wide open for 4 or 5 yards rather than pushing it for that big sort of Harrison down on the go route.
That big, yep. So, I was just complimenting Geno Smith. I feel like right now in this stage of his career, he's really, man, what a joy to watch play QB, number 1. And 2, he's making good decisions. He's making really good decisions. And, even Kyler Murray can learn from some of the decisions that he's making right now, and the ball's going where it needs to go. Kyler sometimes I feel like presses. We had a third quarter play in the Lions game where he forced it on a go route to Marvin Harrison. when Michael Wilson was uncovered underneath on a drag route. So, he feels that pressure of the Lions are just having their way with us. I need to make a big play. And I feel like Geno's playing in the confines of the offense. And as a result, he's really thriving.
Yeah, I mean, if you can be patient as a quarterback, even when you're behind, like that's the biggest thing is don't try and do too much, right? Just keep doing what you're supposed to do. And things will start to come to you. But as soon as you're trying to force the ball, and of course he had a little extra because he came out, the week before saying that getting him the ball isn't his job. And I understand that it's a little taken out of context, but at the same time, he hears that stuff. So, I like what Geno's doing. Really he's done it since he became the starter, right? Like he distributes the ball well. He's smart with it, doesn't turn it over. Last year he dealt with an offensive line that was injured. This year, even though his offensive line isn't great, he's been able to, do some stuff, even moving around, right? Like, cause his offensive line largely hasn't been able to keep the protection all the time, but he's still been real efficient and putting up decent yardage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Which is what you want from your QB. Absolutely. Yes, I suppose we better talk the elephant in the room of the 49ers collapse against the Rams.
It was beautiful.
Damn. Thanks, Jay. Wow. Yeah. I suppose, it was frustrating as as you say, game at halftime, we were coasting. JJ was having game of his life, catching everything. The run game was functional. They were doing okay. Mason was doing what he was doing. I don't know. I didn't hear anything. It seemed to me like he must have got dinged, or he must have been feeling something, because it seemed like they forgot he was there for the fourth quarter. Yeah, and it was like, where's he gone? And then suddenly we were like, everything was in the air, and we're forcing it, and it seemed, I don't know if it was Shanahan was trying to put it on McVay in their house, wearing home reds. It was a home game, looking at the fans and stuff. 80% of it looked like it was 49ers. But did Shanahan kind of get a little bit in his own way? And he's renowned for doing that. It's a historically thing. Everyone says Shanahan gets in his own ways. Did he try and overcoach a game that was literally, it was done? All you needed to do was just keep running the ball. Every now and again, hit JJ, because he was like literally, as I say, catching everything. Seemed like he wanted it
from a virgin. Yeah.
What a line that is! But it exactly seemed how it was. But then he was like, "Well, let's get Ronnie Bell involved in the game. Let's try and do some other stuff." And the special teams have been poor for the last couple of weeks, so they did not cover themselves in glory. And the defense again seems a bit disjointed. I don't know if they're still getting to terms. And it seems like every year we say this, still getting to terms with the new DC and still getting to terms with what he wants to play there. And it just seemed like they just either, I don't know if they got complacent. I don't know if they took their foot off the gas. They thought the game was won, but the second half was just a completely different ball game from the first half.
Yeah, for sure. It's all two cities, right? The first half and the second half. I was telling before the show, Bo, I was telling Gary that I think it was 53 straight times the Niners have been up 14 at the half. Kyle Shanahan's won 53 times, 53-0. The Rams, conversely, are 101 or 0-101 when they're down 14 at half. Right? Sean McVay just can't seem to come back from that. And then we had what we had Sunday. It was beautiful. My 8-year-old son came up to me on like a random Wednesday and goes, Dad, can I rewatch the San Francisco game and the Rams game? And a little tear came down. I'm like, yes, son, you sure can. And I get my phone
in the fields, right?
And watch the replay on NFL Plus. So
yeah,
and you knew that they thought their game was done too, because the first thing that McVay does in the presser is like, "Holy shit!"
Yeah. For what an opening line from a presser. It's just like, it's like, "Holy shit! How did that happen? What's happened here? How is this?" Yeah. My concern is it gets in our head now, because we get in our way. Now it's like, well, we've got to get right for the Patriots. Do they over-press it? As we just talked about pressing and trying to force things. Yeah. Do they kind of over-force it against? It's not a great Patriots team. They shouldn't really have to get out of second or third gear against a Patriots team that
It
looks
is
a
a
bit.
pretty great defense, though.
It's a very good defense. They're not very good offensively. They can't seem to find that end zone, but I think the Niners are going to be just fine. I think that what they need is not, like you said, overpress. Don't overthink it. Don't reinvent the wheel. Kyle Shanahan's fine. I remember your 3-game losing streak last year, and the sky was falling, and Chicken Little came out, and so
sack Shanahan, sack everyone, sack Lynch, sack the whole lot.
You're going to be just fine. You have the personnel, like we talked about. You just need to get healthy, right? No one's running away with it in this division. I really don't think that. I think the Seahawks are kind of out kicking their coverage right now, if you know what I mean. So I don't see them on this. Although I do see them winning today. Or no, I don't see them winning. The Seahawks winning, beating the Lions, but I think the Niners are going to be just fine. Personnel wise, I mean, you just need to get healthy.
Yeah. I think we lost Bo a bit there.
I think we lost Bo again.
You guys got me?
Yes, sir.
There you're back now. Yeah, there you are.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, if you do want to press and find a way to lose this game, that's fine too. Like that.
yeah. I'm sure neither of you would mind that, right?
And I think the more rest, the better. I think everybody should come back in week 6, not next week.
My concern, as I said to GJ just before we started, is like you got these players who are coming back questionable game day decisions and stuff, and talking about forcing it. We don't want to. Debo's back, or do we force him into almost playing every snap? Or if he, you don't want to suddenly think we have to get right, and therefore, we overpress, we get Kittle involved, get Debo involved because they're just back and whatever else, and end up potentially making an issue worse. And that's my concern. That I'm sure sensible people are involved, but as a fan, it's like, we want these players back on the field. As you say, we need to get healthy, but we need to kind of sensibly get healthy. We don't want to just say, you're kind of questionable, Debo. You seem to be okay. Go out and play every offensive snap, and we'll give you the running back, and we'll put you in. We'll do all the stuff that we normally do with Debo, because that's what leads to him getting banged up. So we need to be a little bit more sensible of using him maybe as a decoy once he's out there. Because he is a great decoy player.
Sure.
We've got JJ out there. Ayuk needs to kind of get back up to speed. His holdout is causing.
He needs to get the right color shorts on.
Well, that too as well. That was a whole social media meltdown. He should be sacked. Or what? It's like, it's. I get the point. It's a team uniform for a reason. You can't come out there wearing different color shorts than the rest of you're not better than anybody else. You're not bigger than the team. There's a team uniform. You've got to wear the right colors. The tantrum afterwards and the whole social media meltdown struck me as social media meltdown is what it is. But the tantrum just struck me as a bit like, that's a bit childish. Come on now, you've just kind of had the organization a little bit over a barrel all off season. If the coach tells you to get into proper team uniform, just kind of do as you're told. It struck me as a little bit petulant.
Yeah, that's fair. Again, I think it's much ado about nothing. I don't know if you remember this, but Allen Iverson back in the day said, "Practice." We're talking about practice. Practice, not a game. Not a game. Practice.
Yeah, and it is, and I think that's a change, isn't it, nowadays?
And in 2024, you got cameras everywhere, you got cell phones everywhere. You know what I mean? In the 1990s, if this would have happened, nobody would have heard about it. So I don't think it's a big deal. I think, again, you got phenomenal coaching in that building that will keep them on, going in the right direction. So again, it's just a matter of getting healthy and getting the players back, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, it sounds like looks like Robert's following you around here, Bo. He's saying you are 13 of 5 against Detroit. That's one of the last 6. Yeah. So you're all over.
It's been impressive. It's really been impressive what they've been able to do against the Lions. But that being said, we have so many injuries on the defensive side of the ball coming into this. I feel less confident coming in. So like when I made my picks for the week, I had Seattle winning just based on some history, stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, coming into this with the amount of defensive players that are going to be out, it's going to be really hard to contain that Lions offense. Not just in the run game, but also in the passing game, because even though our secondary is good, if you have all day to throw the ball, you can't cover everybody for 5-6 seconds. Like you just can't do it. Certainly not all day. So, I'm a little worried coming into a primetime game that could have this defense look real bad.
Yeah, it could get spotlight shone on it a little bit with, as you say, that offensive line of Detroit running all over, gashing the holes, and therefore opening up those sort of passing lanes and leaving that secondary to cover for a long time.
Yeah.
Pretty bad up in the Pacific Northwest, it sounds. I thought the hurricane was down in Florida.
Helene, I didn't know it reached up that far. But
yeah, right. Yeah, no.
She turned left, and she had gone a long way up.
Straight to the northwest. Yeah, no. So I am going to jump out here in a second and reset my router to see if that helps. Again, it's just been terrible so far this morning. But as far as Rob's question here, before I jump out, he's going to be splitting. He's going to be splitting the carries with Charbonnet because although he doesn't have a designation, he didn't practice full strength all week. He was limited at the beginning of the week. I think his first full practice without anything was Thursday. And so I don't know that he will be the primary starter. I think this will be a running back by committee in this game here.
He'll be on a pitch count.
Exactly. Because the last thing you want to do, especially with an oblique, I mean, an oblique or like a hamstring or anything like that, they can be lingering. And the last thing you want to do is overwork him and get him to miss some more time. So if he's on your fantasy team, if that's where this question was really directed, I wouldn't start him just because I think he's going to split carries with Charbonnet.
Yeah,
it'd only be sensible, 60,
right? 40 probably.
60-40. Charbonnet is going to be working back in, but yeah, you're right. An oblique is one of those lingering niggles that could easily be made worse by a twist or a turn or a hit in the wrong sort of place. So yeah, you don't want to be putting him through that when he's going to be your lead back going forward. Yeah, working back slowly.
Yep. All right, I'm going to restart this router. I'll be back as soon as I can.
Okay,
right.
Cool.
We'll dive into. Yeah. We'll dive into the Commanders anyway, because that's an interesting team for you guys now after their shock win, I suppose, a surprise from the last time out with the Commanders. What a game that was.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but it was very familiar offense, right? Watching that game, I'm like, wow, and I remember these wide receiver screens. I remember these running back screens. I remember these little quick slants. So I think that's where we're going to have an advantage today is that defense. Buda Baker, Jalen Thompson, Zayvon Collins, those guys have seen that and practice clip against close offense for years. So I think it's going to be very familiar what they see. Now, Washington has some very extremely dynamic pieces, obviously, with Jaden Daniels. I think Austin Eckler is going to miss the game today. He's still in, I think, concussion protocol, so that's awesome. But either way, I mean, they've got some very dynamic pieces on the offensive side of the ball. On defense, not so much. That defense, they're giving up 5.2 yards a carry. We got to get back to running the football.
You got to just feed. You got to feed Jay Connor, right? You just got to feed Connor a lot. He's got to be your workhorse. He's got to lean on that guy, especially now, as you say, they're giving up big yards every play.
They are. They're giving up big plays, and they're giving up consistent 5.2 yards a carry on the rush. Last week, I wrote this down. James Conner, Trey Benson, and Amari DiMarcado combined for 13 carries for 32 yards. That's 2.4.
13 carries.
13 carries. Those three running backs combined for 13 carries while Kyler's throwing the ball over 30 times. I mean, we really got to get back to about the last 18 plays of the game last week. The last 18 plays were pass plays. So we've got to get back to that run game. We've got to get, to establishing that opens up the play action. We don't even need to necessarily be effective. We just need to show that threat.
Show that you're trying it. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, especially when you got a guy like Aiden Hutchinson who can just, if he knows you're throwing the ball, that's where that sack came in. I mean, what's his name? Jackson Barton did a great job. Our third string right tackle all day long, shutting down Hutchinson. And then he goes out. We got our fourth string right tackle in there that we called it from the from the practice squad this week.
Practice squad or something, right?
And
Yeah.
Hutchinson switches to the left side, so over our left tackle, Paris Johnson. That's where Aiden Hutchinson gets his first sack of the game. So he didn't get it over a four-stringer; he got it over our left tackle, Paris Johnson. So a lot of respect, but again, we became very one-dimensional. You knew what we were going to do. We're going to pass the ball. Marvin Harrison had 5 catches on 11 targets. That's got to get better. They weren't all Marvin's fault, but a lot of them were. So Marvin's got to get better at catching that ball. 5 catches on 11 targets. That's kind of crazy. That's not
It's not a great stat line, is it? But as you say, how many of those were
Fitzgerald-esque, which everybody's kind of likes to throw around over here, so they pump the brakes. All right.
Come on, it's game 4 of a
but again, we
season,
just got to get back to that, establishing that run game, run the ball. That's what makes everybody so, and that's what makes Kyler so dynamic, is when that running game is popping like that. You know, I told you those 3 guys combined for 32. I think Kyler had 45 himself.
Yeah.
So your leading running back cannot be your quarterback.
Should not be. And as you say, you know, it's how he functions better if those defenses can't just pin their ears back. No, it's a run. You know, the front 4 just get after him, and the linebackers and everybody drop. That's not how he's going to work. You need to keep them honest.
Keep you in a base, keep you in a nickel. Then I can do some things throwing the ball in the air, or even running the ball, right? But when I know you're going to throw the ball every down or most of the downs, it's like, you're making it too easy. So
too easy then, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. And we've got the Patriots, as we've kind of touched on. Should be a get-right game. I'm wondering, I'm quite interested Bears Rams. I know Sam's not with us, but that's got some interest. This is an intriguing one to call, right? You're like, the Rams just got the win, but they're dinged up. The Bears have been flattering to deceive, but every now and again you think, just maybe. That's an interesting one to me. I think that's going to be quite an interesting one.
I'm going to be watching very closely, on my phone throughout the Cardinals game. But I think Sean McVay and Stafford, I think they handle, that rookie quarterback-led team today. But, that is going to be an interesting watch for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's just obviously with the NFC West, you always keep an eye on where the other ones are. But that one just looks to me, as you say, I think the Lions are probably going to run over the Seahawks and kind of bring them back to us.
On paper, you certainly think that, right? Conventional wisdom, right? Says that. But man, Robert and Bo, they're throwing out these stats. It's like, wow, this is okay.
Okay, that Monday night stat and that stat against the Lions, and and if anything, last week showed there was like whiplash sort of results everywhere, weren't there? Some results kind of come across the screen going, well, I did not see that one coming at all. There were some very surprising results. So any given Sunday, as we say in the NFL, it seems to be rife early this season, definitely.
Usually I let the first 2 weeks play out before I start throwing some bets around, because the NFL's got to settle down. We got to figure out who's for real, who's not. Are the Saints for real or are they not? Right? We saw the Saints. We saw more like last week, but this year I feel like it's taking a little bit more time. It's taking more time than 2 weeks. Like we're now into week 4, and it's like, okay, like are the Bills really good? Are they
really good? Yeah, that's the Bills are the interesting. Are the Saints good? And the Cowboys, are the Cowboys bad? Are the Cowboys good? Are the Cowboys? They're 500. I think they're bad, but they kind of somehow.
The Ravens, what's going on here? And
like the Bengals are 0-3. I mean, if the Bengals lose today, are they done for the year? They not making a playoff at 0-4, are they?
No.
Like some crazy stuff out there.
Daniel Jones, after paying him all that money in the offseason or 2 years ago, it's crazy. So
and our division is completely perfect for that. At the beginning we talked about the Niners should be nice and clear. There should be home and hose, whatever else. And now we're bottom of the division. Seahawks are looking great. You guys are mixing it up. It's just what the NFL does, as you say early on. It's people still finding their way, still finding their feet.
Yeah.
There you go. Bo's just pinged up saying he's just had a text notification from his major supplier saying, there's a bit of a problem in Seattle. So it sounds like maybe he's not coming back.
Well, I think, your next 2 weeks are winnable games. We always play each other tough, though. I mean, whenever I just feel like it's a tough game. The week the Cardinals and then the Niners play. So, but you're playing. We don't have a tough defense, not yet, but the Patriots do. So you're playing that defense today, but you're playing a team next week that plays you very well. So I think it's going to be a very interesting next 2 weeks.
Couple of weeks. Yeah,
but
I think I'm hoping at going against the Patriots is that kind of iron sharpens iron type thing, as you say, a good offense against a good defense. That should hopefully elevate us a little bit up to try and make sure that we start clicking. Because, yes, JJ was great. Brock was outstanding. His stat line and everything else from that game against the Rams was like, you should have just walked off with that easily. And yet here we are with the defense not showing up, special teams being a bit poor. Ronnie Bell obviously taking an awful lot of flack for some clearly horrendous drops, but he was never, he shouldn't really be in those positions, injuries and whatever else. But some of those were criminal drops.
Yeah,
it's nice that the team has kind of rallied around him and circled the wagons to make sure he's the young guy, we'll get his back and whatever else. But it's going to be tough for him to take because it was so glaringly right in his hands to drop it. It reminded me of the Tart interception from the playoff game where it was just like, just catch the ball, and the game was done, and it was like, oh, what's happened there?
Yeah.
So that was quite heartbreaking. But it's nice to see that the squad have rallied around him. Whether or not the fans have forgiven him is a different matter, because I suppose because it was the Rams. Also, if it would have been a non-conference, a non-divisional game, probably wouldn't have been quite so vitriolic, the response, I would suggest. But it's against the Rams, it's against a divisional rival.
I find that sometimes the more storied the franchise, the 49ers, right, the Cowboys, the Packers, sometimes those fans can be the not so pleasant type, the vitriol. Whereas last week you got a team, a franchise like the Lions, right? Not very storied at all. Reminds me a lot of the Cardinals franchise, right? We try really hard, but we don't really have anything to show for it. We won in 1946.
Lucky underdogs. We got
even a Super Bowl in 1946. We went in 2008, but that's it. So, but they were the nicest, most respectful fans. And that crowd, that stadium was probably 50-50 last week, Lion Cardinal fan. And I'm like, man, you guys travel really well. There's Lion fans everywhere. But they were so respectful, so nice. And I see that. I see the franchises that aren't as storied as,
maybe have that history.
Tend to be a little bit, hey, you guys played great today. You kicked our butt, kind of thing. Whereas, man, Niner fan is tough. Yeah, Niner fan is tough to face.
And it's. What gets me is they're some of them, so quick to point at the Cowboys going, look at you, you've not won anything since '95. And you kind of want to reach over sometimes and just tap them on the shoulder and go, yeah, we haven't won anything since the year before. Yes, we've been in the championship. We haven't won it. You got to, take a look at yourself and that storied franchise and history. And history is wonderful, and it's a wonderful franchise. We do have a great history, but it doesn't entitle us to anything. And it's a shame that traveling fans have that chip on the shoulder, and it does seem like the social media side of it is so quick to explode. As you said, those 3 games, the sky is falling, everything is falling apart last year when it look what happened in the end. He turned it around, ended up at the Super Bowls, missing out by overtime faux pas by not realizing the new rules, which still baffles me.
Right.
Yeah, it's a shame that the fan base follow him and bring that with them. But
yeah, for sure. But I definitely think the players in the locker room get it and they understand it, and they'll get it. They'll get right.
Yeah, and you do wonder, as I say, with the injuries and those big players being out, does it affect? How does that affect the locker room? Not just in terms of how the game plan changes, because obviously certain plays go out the window if Debo's not there, for example. You can't play those trick plays, can't do some of the bubble screens quite so much, because as a dynamic runner, he's like a one-off. He's that unicorn thing. So, but also in terms of, you know, not having those guys around the locker room leading into the game, you just wonder from a professional athlete point of view, does it kind of go, oh, we're not quite at 100% strength. We're not quite, you know, clicking. We don't have X, Y pieces. It's an interesting dichotomy of it should be next man up. You know, it's a 53-man roster for a reason.
Yeah.
But then if you lose those pieces, does it, you know, play in the back of your mind of, oh, if we only had, you know, DMC,
You know
if we
what?
only had Devo.
If you didn't have the defense you have, I would agree. But having the defense that you have,
Yeah.
I don't think the guys in the locker room are thinking that, especially Fred Warner and the guys on the defense side of the ball. They could care less. Like, they can all offensive guys can be hurt and sit. That defense just has an attitude. They have a chip on their shoulder. They know they're better, and they are. They just need to come out and play like it. That's, you know, and they will. I trust that they will. Again, you just have too many key pieces. You know, the personnel on both sides of the ball is just so rich with talent. And that defense side of the ball, once you guys get clicking, again, it's a new defensive coordinator. You guys are trying to figure things out. But I think once things start clicking and you start piecing some wins together, I can see.
And that momentum needs to build. I think what we're not helping ourselves is we kind of get that momentum. Like the first half of the Rams, we had like the momentum and everything looked like it was, you know, going okay. And then we just kind of don't help ourselves with like bonehead plays from, you know, special teams or something like that. And it just kills that momentum. And we all know in the NFL, you know, momentum wins you games sometimes over talent or over rosters.
Absolutely.
You know, and like
another silver lining here, if I'm a Niner fan, is the rest that Christian McCaffrey's getting. So, I mean, it looks like he's going to play half a season now. Let's be honest. Did we really think, Niner fan, did we really think that Christian McCaffrey was going to come in and play another full season? Talk about one-off. I mean, that was rare for him to play. Really, he's played an entire, right? And, I mean, he's got a little nicks and bruises and things like that, but I mean, relatively, he stayed healthy. And did you really think he was going to come in and do that again? So, and in that offense and Kyle Shanahan's run game, where they just lean on CMC in the run and the pass, they ask a lot of him. So, again, I think this is kind of a blessing in disguise. He's going to come back, and when he gets ramped up, he's going to play half a season, and I think that's going to be great for his body.
Yeah. It's gonna, the worry for the rest of the NFC and the rest of the NFL is, you know, how hungry and how determined when he is back is he going to be for us, you know, and will we get back to that? And then it's, you know, oh, now all the pieces are back together. This could be a back to that team to watch out for, and you know, the end of season is when that momentum really kicks in. If he's back fully healthy, then into November, December time when it gets really crunch time, then that's going to be great for us.
You got to stay in the mix till then, right? But my money's on you staying in the mix and getting right and being the 49ers down the stretch.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see as we get towards, you know, seedings and stuff like that. After losing, you know, being 1 and 2, it doesn't look like the number 1 seed in the NFC is clear as of the moment yet either. You know, it's all kind of mixed up. And, you know, you think last season you thought, well, the Eagles and the Niners were clear. Now there's a bit of where is the number 1 seed going to come out of? So being still in the mix by then, you know, maybe getting home field is going to be massively important, but who knows? You know, if we've got the momentum with everybody fit and healthy towards the end of the season, it might not be that important.
Yeah, you know, exactly. You know, when things are so muddled up now, the Lions look like they're for real. The Texans, are they for real or not? I mean, which they came on the scene last year, but this year they haven't been the scene we saw late last year, right? So
they got handed to last week, didn't they? The Texans, they got
they just lost.
Yeah, they just lost quite heavily as well, didn't they? Yeah.
So, I don't think anybody's taking that mantle on NFC. I mean, Green with Jordan Love still being out, Green Bay's not quite up to speed.
I thought it's questionable for today. He might be back, but Minnesota
Yeah,
looked good. But how long does Sam Darnold train before it does a Sam Darnold and derails itself? Yeah.
Well, again, though, we're talking about so great conversation piece. Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is talking a lot and giving a lot of prompts to his time he spent with the Niners, right? And Kyle Shanahan and Brian Griese, the quarterback coach over there, right? So when you go to a place that has great coaching like that, it just rubs off on you. The talent's always been there, but now he got into a place in San Francisco where he got to sit behind. He wasn't the guy; he was just a guy, right?
Yeah.
And he really got to learn and understand. And now in Minnesota are really seeing, if you have a guy that is patient, is talented enough, and then a Brian Flores-led defense, that defense
is doing some business, isn't it? Yeah.
And then I think that'll help anybody. I think, or any quarterback, when you have a defense that's lights out, Tampa Bay, okay, and you can run the ball, San Francisco, lights out defense can run the ball. Most quarterbacks can look really good in that system.
Yeah.
Okay. Because as a quarterback, that's what I want. Hey, do I have a shutdown defense? And can we run the ball? If I need that 3rd and 2, can we pick it up? Can we move the sticks?
Or the comfort of knowing, as you say, the defense, okay, we didn't quite make it, we didn't drive, stalled, whatever else. I know you guys are not going to let us get blown out of the water. We can get back in this and not, so that confidence level. And then, as we talked about at the beginning, Kyler and Gina, not feeling you ever have to force it because you're always in the game. You're never out of it. You're never 2-3 scores behind and have to literally abandon.
Right.
Yeah.
So you never have to be that guy. You never have to be the guy that wins this game. And I think that's the common denominator. You see guys like Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. You see guys going and finding places, situations. Even Brock Purdy, and this is not, how I feel about Brock. I
know. Just I saw Robert's comment there. It's just like, here we go. It's a typical Seahawks fan of, he's a average QB. He's a product of the system.
Remember, we said that about Richard Sherman. We said Richard Sherman in that cover 3 system, he's lights out in that system. But if he goes, well, that's not really fair. He's playing in the system that he plays in, right? I mean, that's not really. I'm not good enough or smart enough to look at a player and say if he's good and can transcend any system. All I know is what I see, and I see Brock Purdy win games.
Yeah.
Not every 49er quarterback has won games, right?
That's so true.
And you still have the lights out defense, and you could still run the ball. But man, that quarterback just Brock's doing it. So is he the greatest quarterback in the league? I don't know. Is he the worst? I don't know. But he's winning.
Yeah.
And he looks good, and his teammates like him. So
and it could be, as you say, he's not that guy. He doesn't feel like he has to be that guy in this team, and he doesn't have to be. Like we just talked about Darnold. He's learned that he doesn't have to be that guy. He's got a good run team. He's got a great defense. He's not, Brock Purdy doesn't have to be the lights out, run around, put the game on his shoulders kind of guy. He just needs to work in the system. He's worked. He's learning. He's going through it. It's still year 3. So come on, but. The way he's playing, he's winning games. His record stands and speaks for itself. So, I mean, he's always, and I think he's always going to get tarnished and battered with that. Oh, he was the last pick in the draft. It's his system. It's great coaching and da. But it's like,
and are we having that conversation if he wasn't the last pick in the draft? Are we really having a conversation about Brock Purdy and him? Oh, he's only this good because if he was drafted in the end of the first round or beginning of the second round, we're not having this conversation. Okay. Yeah. But you're right. He was the last pick in the draft, so it's a very sensational story. But I'm telling you, I'm not good enough to look at a guy and say he's a very good quarterback, or he's not a very good quarterback. His team just went I just know he's winning and his team's winning. I shouldn't say he's winning. His team's winning.
His team's
and he's
winning,
he's the quarterback on that team. So he looks great doing it. It's not like he's out there making bad choices. Turnovers, fumbles.
Yeah, it's not like the team's saving him, is it?
Go. Exactly. Yeah. That defense isn't really saving anybody lately. And if you look at Brock's numbers, even last year, yes, that defense is still lights out. Brock's numbers were really good too. So
Yeah.
it's not like he's playing like an Alex Smith, very conservative. Don't, just let my defense. I just got to get 9 points and we're good. Because
Yeah.
no, he's like, let's do this. But again,
Go out.
you have the personnel to do that. But not every 49er quarterback has done that.
No, absolutely, and it's interesting. And as you say, I don't think this gets bandied around or talked about at all if he was picked third round, second round, anywhere like that.
Yeah.
It's the whole Mr. Last round of the bit. Is it jealousy from other teams and other fan bases potentially a little bit as well? Because as you say, we are stacked, we are loaded at skill positions, so there's got to be that, and anything that can be thrown against a team that's doing well, they'll do it. And I get it.
I just think that's so short-sighted, and it really bugs me and irritates me because you're really shorting the coaches, right? Kyle Shanahan's a phenomenal coach. Brian Greasy's a phenomenal quarterbacks coach, right? And those guys in that organization, same, I'll get off the Niners a little bit and talk about the Cardinals. I mean, our coaching staff is phenomenal. So no, we're not necessarily getting the results we want at the end, but what Gannon's doing is Gannon's getting these guys to buy into the process, not necessarily the results. The results, they'll come. We're buying into that process with this coaching staff. Everybody is bought in.
And that was Bill Walsh's motto, wasn't it?
Yeah. What's that?
That was Bill Walsh's motto. Trust the process. The results will come when they come, and that's what you guys are doing. As you say, you're year 2 of this rebuild. You can see the step process and the step gain from last year. Trusting in, you're getting the right players in, they're buying in, it's coming, it's the system. Every player is a product of their system that they play in. As you say, Sherman looked great in the system at Legion of Boom at the Seahawks. Could he fit everywhere else? Was he as good everywhere else? He was great when he came over to us, but he didn't play in the same system. So he wasn't so lights out, but then he was also
he was a little older as well.
Exactly. And it's
still a great cornerback.
Yeah. I mean, I loved him when he was over Uncle Sherman. He did great for us. He fitted right in, and it was interesting how quickly, I suppose it might have been a UK thing. It may not have been. I'm not sure from a San Francisco sort of native if they welcomed him as much. But we hated him for 10 years because at the Seahawks he was like lights out. We couldn't get a game. The Crabtree thing and everything else. But when he came over, suddenly he was like, this guy is, leading the team. He's kind of properly, fully invested. And you could see he bought into the ethos of the Niners and brought a whole load of leadership, which was needed to a young secondary division. So it's quite interesting how quickly, your attitude changes to players when they do come across the line of divide.
Sure, absolutely. And here in the U.S., they absolutely embraced him and his play. If he didn't play as well, then no, they would have definitely given it to him. But no, he backed it up, played well, and like you said, was a leader on that defense. So, yeah, it was fun to watch. But again, I think it starts at the top. Attitude reflects leadership, right? And just in the system, and your building and the Cardinal building, I really feel like we got the attitude, the right guys, the right leadership, the right coaching staff. Even Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is notorious for kind of pouting, and he hates to lose. I wouldn't necessarily call him a good loser. He is kind of pouty. He gets very upset. But even last week after the loss, he's like, I'm upset we lost. I want to win every game. But I'm very happy with what I saw today. I saw some very cool things today. So to see him, hear him say that, I rewatched the games anyway, but I was really rewatching the game now. Okay, what's he looking at? What's he seeing?
What's he seen then? If he's even, as you say, that bad loser, that's an interesting one. It's like, do you really ever want your captains and your QBs to be good losers?
Right.
It's like you want them to feel a bit grieved and a bit grumpy about it. But the fact he's come out and said he saw plus points, you're like, oh.
You know what? And I saw guys like Tom Brady. Tom Brady was a horrible loser. I saw guys like Aaron Rodgers when things aren't going his way. His facial, everything's horrible. So these elite guys, I'm not calling Kyler elite, so pump the brakes. I don't need that. But you're right. You don't want your quarterback to be okay with losing. I want my quarterback to be miffed, after a loss. But the fact that he saw what he saw and, breaking the tape down, you saw it, like, man, there were some plays out there. There was about 4 or 5. We talked about it. 11 targets for Marvin Harrison on 5 catches. That's got to improve. Okay.
Yeah.
The ball's got to go to better places at times. Okay. So we did leave some things on the field today or last week. So it's just nice. It's nice to see the direction that we're going. And I know I sound like a parakeet. I said this, it seemed like all season last year, but you're really seeing it. It's a little bit slower than we would like, right? But it's really an organic rebuild. We're not buying pieces from other teams and assembling them. It's I'm rebuilding through the draft and getting the right kind of players. I got
and
Matt
that's the
Wilson,
interest, isn't
Azir
it? You've not
White.
gone out, you've not gone out with those, big, massive signings or splashy things. You've picked up a few pieces, yes, that are, helped from an experience level, but you've not got, thrown the house like the Rams did for the ring, and it worked for them. They got the ring, whatever else, but they literally threw the house of big name stars and money. You've got the team, as you say, you build through the draft. Nailed the draft this year with the picks and the numbers you had. You were like everywhere.
Yeah.
And they're all guys who are, as you say, getting the process, buying into what's happening. And that will make a massive difference towards the end of this year, probably next year.
Absolutely.
But more likely the year after is when it will really all come to fruition.
Well, Monty's had 2 phenomenal drafts, and it's the juxtaposition of Monty taking over for Steve Keim, right? Steve Keim was not very good at drafting it at all, but could get big signs like Carson Palmer, DeAndre Hopkins, who could get big names. Keim times time, we'd always say here, he was good at signing that big name. Not so good at drafting. Where Monty's kind of the opposite. He doesn't want to sign any big name. He drafts phenomenally, gets them into the system, and then Gannon and company coaches them up in this system. So again, it's fun to watch. It's taken some time, but again, I'm going to be a Cardinal fan regardless. So it's like, why not build it the right way, right? And
your time's coming right in the division as well, because you can see the other teams, certainly the Niners. We've talked about it, that this window of the Niners team, it cannot last like this. You have the coaching system and everything else to be there, but these star-stacked players next year, when Purdy comes knocking for his contract, that's going to have a knock-on effect. It's going to, the tides of change. It always happens in the NFL. It always happens in teams fluctuate up and down, but you're in that process of coming back to prominence within the division. Are the Niners, a year or two down the line, where are they going to be at? Where are the Rams going to be at? It's always in flux, isn't it? So it's definitely
look what a quandary that did with Lynch and Shanahan, just asking for more guaranteed money for Trent Williams and Brandon Ayuk, right?
Yeah.
I mean, ownership, York and all those guys, the trust of the Niners, right? They hated parting with that money. And it was just guaranteed money. It was just slightly restructured, right?
Restructure it, give you a signing bonus.
You Brock Purdy's contract.
That's what's looming in the back of everybody's mind.
Unless Brock comes in like a Tom Brady and is like, "Hey, listen, I don't care what you pay me.
Just give me 40 million, spread it around a bit." I mean, I don't see him coming in going, "I must be the highest paid QB."
I
don't see him also kind of being, I see it being team friendly-ish.
But you also got to pay him what he's worth, right? I mean, he's a top.
If we don't pay him what he's worth,
he's top 10 quarterback, and he's going to get paid like top 5. So, and rightfully so, right?
Yeah,
he touches the ball on
every play, and he's important. He wins his games. He's got us to the Super Bowl and NFC Championship.
Yes.
You can't not go there and go, "Hey, you got to be paid like a top 5," because if we don't, his agent and somebody else will come along and go, that team over there will pay you.
And
so
then you got to start over at the QB position.
And that's not where you need to be starting off.
No.
Jay, another great Sunday, man. Love catching up with you. Apologies for Bo and Sam not matching us, but hey, we've managed to get through. Good luck today against the Commanders. Should be a good one. Could be an interesting battle. Hopefully you guys just hand the ball to Connor and you get Trey Benson more involved. I love that guy from the Seminoles, and get him running. He's an interesting 1-2 punch for you guys. And fingers crossed the Niners get right against
Elijah Higgins will get a touchdown today. Our second string tight end. He will get a touchdown.
Oh, I shall keep an eye on Red Zone for that one.
Calling it now.
Jay, have a great Sunday.
Yep.
Good, man. Take it easy. Thanks for what. Cheers, guys.
the world. Still hitting them corners and them lolos.
It's the call of the Cardinals. The call.
There's only one team, and they're the Seahawks. One.
Lolos.